All right, we may as well start talking about topics. Again, I am still somewhat sick, so I'm having to sniffle during this. My apologies. I just kind of have to do that. Not much I can do about that. But that was a very unpleasant feeling. We do have a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, it comes as no surprise that Mitch McConnell is willing to talk about stonewalling literally everything Democrats try to do in the United States. And it's one of the reasons why him being the party leader of the Republicans is such a fucking problem. But before we get into any of that dipshittery and madness, let's go ahead and get into the fan art section, because I know that that is a thing that some of you have become very, very accustomed to lately. And we're going to keep on going. So first we have a piece from Blue Feather, which they think is cursed. But I'm fairly certain somebody's fapped to this, so I don't know how cursed it really is. Next we have a piece from Forest, which is looks like it says, "Let's go, Suris." No context is given to the Discord, but it still looks good, so thank you very much. And finally, we have a part one from Purple Box. They said is called Suris, the Eva pilot. And as somebody who has watched Evangelion multiple times, I have to say, if that's the case, that I sincerely hope none of you find thousands of my random body parts in a giant vat somewhere. And I also hope that I never reset the human race into an orange paste. There, spoilers for Evangelion. Okay, as always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. They are greatly appreciated, and if you want to submit fan art of your own, the best way to do that is dropping it into the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the topic at hand. After I sniff, because my allergies are going absolute nuts. So, the title of the piece is, "Believe Mitch McConnell, Republicans will never confirm another Democrat-appointed Supreme Court justice." So, this seems like a way to, just say fuck it with democracy and just never, ever, ever have anything besides Republicans in the Supreme Court. Unless, of course, those Republicans end up slowly shifting to the left, which I don't think is going to happen that much. But let's go ahead and zoom in so people can actually read along. The print is kind of small. On Monday, Senator Minority Leader Mitch McConnell... God, I love saying that. Senator Minority Leader. God, I love this. That is so happy to say. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell told conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt that he would refuse to let President Joe Biden fill a Supreme Court seat in 2024 if Republicans win the Senate next year. McConnell also suggested that he would not let Biden fill a Supreme Court vacancy in 2023, even if the president nominated a normal mainstream liberal. These comments are not remotely surprising. The Republican Party has outsourced much of its agenda to the federal judiciary, a strategy that requires its lawmakers to ruthlessly extinguish any Democrat influence over the courts. To that end, a GOP-controlled Senate will never again confirm a Democratic president Supreme Court nominee, not in an election year or any other year. Not in your lifetime, never. So, guys, if you're surprised by this in chat, please let me know, because I'm not. I'm going to be perfectly honest. There's nothing remotely surprising about the fact that the literal turtle of politics would try his best to stonewall and do an Alterac Valley-style turtling strategy, but, in the political courtrooms. There's nothing about this that is surprising. And that's because Mitch doesn't view politics as a way to run a country, I don't think. I think he views it as a competition. He views this as a race. As opposed to an essential part of what makes the country function for everyone. Liberal, Democrat, Republican, conservative, leftist, anybody. As opposed to thinking of the United States as something that is ran by its politicians for all of the people, he seems to operate this as more of a competitive contest that he must always win. Which, not gonna lie, while not surprising, is kind of shitty. McConnell played slightly coy when discussing the possibility of a Supreme Court confirmation in 2023, telling Hewitt, "We'll have to wait and see what happens. But anyone who seriously believes a Republican-controlled Senate would confirm Biden nominee that year, or even hold hearings on one, is deluding themselves." I actually agree with that. Because McConnell, during 2015, did this same shit. He's done this multiple times, just stonewalling potential Democrats from getting in, trying to buy enough time through his stonewalling to appoint a Republican if the Democrat loses. This is a strategy he's been using for a while. And then, of course, when he's got control over the Senate, he does not allow the Republicans to budge on this at all. He pushes it so that a Republican will get in as a Supreme Court, and then as a Supreme Court sitter, and then a Democrat will not be able to hop in. Any opportunity he has to shove a Republican in there, he does it fast. What was it that Innuendo Studios said that the Republican Party likes to do? They like to say in one hand, "We are the party of slow and deliberate action. We are the party of conserving things. We are the party of making sure that the wheels of justice and politics move slowly. But now, in this unique time, this is the time for decisive action." And they've been saying this shit for like 50 years. This is like the whole coming of Christ thing, where Jesus Christ is due to come any moment now, and then he just doesn't, over and over again. Like that's just a pretty normal thing at this point. Continuing with the article, McConnell's approach to judicial confirmations reflects two core principles of the modern GOP. First, that only the federal judiciary can impose key items in the Republican Party platform that are too unpopular to pass through the democratic process. And second, that only conservative judges faithfully apply the Constitution, whereas liberals apparently make it up as they go along. These principles appear to contradict each other, but Republicans have harmonized them by convincing themselves that their platform is perfectly reflective of the Constitution. Thus, in the eyes of the GOP, when liberal judges issue decisions that align with Democratic priorities, they are judicial activists who are betraying their duty to apply the law as written. But when conservative judges issue decisions that align with Republican priorities, by contrast, they are independent jurists who are honoring the framers' designs. And why does this matter? Why is this important? One of the things that has been pushed over and over and over again by the Republican Party for the last few decades has been an attempt to strip women of their rights to their own bodily autonomy. And I'm sure there's somebody in the chat who's going to do the usual, "No, actually, we're just very concerned about the children. We're very concerned about them." But what I find interesting with that take is that it's usually by somebody who's never going to have to give birth to a child, or has already given birth to children, or has made the decision that they do not want to abort their own children. And sure, those are fine, but you're literally just wanting to control the bodies of other people. You're wanting to engage in control to take away the choice from other people, necessarily. So it's not just pro-birthing, it's pro-control. Because it necessarily requires the control of somebody else's body to instigate. Again, why does it matter that the Supreme Court is stacked with Republicans to people like Mitch McConnell? Because Republicans are more likely to strip away Roe v. Wade. And this has been reflected throughout history for the last few decades. That's what Republicans do, generally speaking. And I'm not saying that's what all conservatives do. Not all conservatives are pro-life. But the Republican platform in the United States almost always includes an interweaving pro-life position of some kind. And it's one of the most prevalent things, and it's one of the things that is going to be pushed by McConnell or literally anybody who manages to get something through as best they can. Even though Roe v. Wade has been established legal principle for a long time, they're still going to fight to overturn it. The design, according to Republicans, includes a number of policy items that the GOP has struggled to implement through legislation due to a lack of popular support. Consider gun laws. Most Republican politicians oppose bans on assault weapons and support the right to carry a concealed firearm in public. But Republicans have failed to repeal the assault weapons ban currently on the books in 7 states and the District of Columbia. They have also failed to repeal strict limits on concealed carry that remain in 9 states. Republicans no longer need to push these policies democratically, though, because they have stacked the federal courts with Second Amendment enthusiasts who are keen to impose these policies by judicial fiat. Indeed, the Supreme Court appears poised to strike down stringent restrictions on concealed carry, thanks to the votes of President Donald Trump's nominees. And earlier this month, a conservative federal judge struck down California's assault weapon ban. Further, an ever-growing number of Trump's judicial nominees have questioned the constitutionality of other gun laws, including large-capacity gun magazines, limit on handgun transfers, and possession of firearms by people who were convicted of felonies or involuntarily committed. Now, here's where I do tend to hold issue with the person who wrote the article. Not the person, but the things written in the article. I'm pro-gun. Like, I'm on the left, but I'm pro-gun. So this part doesn't really concern me as much. I'm okay with people having firearms. I'm okay with people having large capacity magazines. Most of the time when people use these things, they're using them for fun. They're using them for recreation. And if you look at the amount of deaths that actually happen as a result of firearms, typically it's handguns where this happens. Statistically, it's almost always handguns. Republicans did not pass any major gun rights legislation under Trump, but they didn't need to. Confirming 234 federal judges, most of them Second Amendment zealots, is a far more effective and enduring attack on gun safety laws than any mere bill could ever be. And the story will continue to play out across the broad range of GOP policy priorities, from abolishing affirmative action to hobbling environmental protections to shredding voting rights. These are things I do care about. These are things I do hold issue with. Taking away environmental protections, like things like deregulating a lot of shit in business, shredding voting rights, something we've been trying to deal with in Georgia for ages. This shit I am very concerned about. So the plan, filling the geocracy with partisans and ideologues who will implement GOP priorities from the bench, might seem inconsistent with the right's incessant complaint of judicial activism. Republicans, however, have formulated another principle to square this circle. They insist that conservative judges simply apply the law and the Constitution as written, while liberal judges inflict their policy preferences on the people in the guise of neutral judging. If this is true, which again, we're talking about a broad sweeping ideology, so could be, could not be. But if this is an accurate summation of what's going on, then this is what's known as projection. This is where you are the ideologue trying to implement policy preferences by pretending that you're neutral, and then you blame everyone else of being the ideologue masquerading as someone who's neutral. It's a fairly common tactic. Alrighty, and with all that said, thank you all for watching, and insert end the video tagline here.